Allie.
And I'm Becky.
We are registered dietitians that are passionate about food as medicine.
In this video, we are going to be covering the many benefits of fish, talking about troubleshooting fish if you don't like how it turns out at home, covering our favorite selections and preparation techniques.
Yes, so I think the most known benefit of fish is that it is anti-inflammatory and rich in omega-3 fatty acids. So we know that omega-3 fatty acids can actually reduce inflammatory chemicals in our body, which can drive pain, chronic illness, as well as many mechanisms of disease.
We've actually seen diets high in fish and that omega-3 in particular to reduce the risk of heart disease by up to 15%. That's pretty dramatic.
Yes, absolutely. And that was a population study of 40,000 adult males, so pretty large population size there. We also know that fish is great in its DHA, a type of omega-3 fatty acid that supports neurological health and brain health. We've seen beneficial literature on prevention of cognitive decline and Alzheimer's, as well as fetal brain development for babies all the way through infancy. And isn't there some fun fact on IQ and DHA?
And we actually have seen in studies that about 1 gram of DHA daily has been associated with an increase in your baby's IQ. This is why we include the EPA DHA Extra from our line in the Mama to Be bundle, that is to be taken during pregnancy and through breastfeeding.
Yes. We've also seen that in children that consume fish regularly, there is a significant reduction in asthma as well as respiratory distress and allergies.
And we love fish just because it's a quality, mineral-rich protein source. It's low in calories, and oftentimes when you're dining out and can't find like grass-fed beef on the menu or pasture-raised chicken, you likely will be able to find an option of fish that is wild-caught for a cleaner protein.
Yes, and then to boot, there are unique antioxidants in fish, like astaxanthin is one that has beneficial outcomes we've seen in eye health as well as cardiovascular health.
Yeah.
So let's talk about why fish might not be going well, or why you might dread making fish in the household, or common areas to troubleshoot.
So because fish is low in fat, we want to ensure that we're using enough fat in its preparation. And I think this is often a big miss. So both fat added during the cooking process while you're preparing it to go in the oven, and oftentimes I'll add some extra fat at the end, like a drizzle of olive oil or even some grass-fed butter to melt at the end.
Yes, I think the second area to troubleshoot is that an individual is using too low of heat or cooking for too long. And often people are waiting for that dry flake in their fish, and that's when it's overcooked. You actually only want to cook a fish to about 140 to 145 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's more appropriate to use higher temperatures, like 400 degrees, only at about 10 minutes per inch of thickness.
I think the third faux pas is not using a super fresh fish. So we want to ensure that our fish does not have a detectable fishy odor, might just be a little bit briny or even kind of sweet, and that's a sign of freshness. We also can do the finger test. So you're looking to put your finger on that fish, press it down, and you want to see that that flesh is rebounding pretty quickly as another sign of freshness.
Yes. Let's talk about selection and things that we want to look for on a label or at a restaurant or when we're purchasing our fish. So a big thing that we're passionate about is wild caught. Wild caught fish are going to be higher in omega-3 fatty acids and lower in toxicity, especially in those microplastics. And we've even seen estrogen dominance or estrogen buildup, as well as pharmaceuticals and such, in the fattier fish that are farm raised.
Yes, and they're getting fed likely corn or soy or an unnatural diet to boot. So you're not going to have as high of those antioxidants. And then we want to look for either the Monterey Bay Aquarium watch list or the MSC certification, which is going to be the Marine Steward Council. And you'll see those little logos on your fish.
Yes, and both of those guides are going to help you to select something that is sustainable and something that is not going to be as harmful or stressful on our environment. You also will see in that MSC certificate those that are going to be lower in toxicity or mercury. So all things to consider. Also, I would not shy away from frozen options because these are often flash frozen and at the site of where they're catching the fish, either on the boats or processed very quickly, which may have lower transportation than getting other cuts. And when you're purchasing your fish at the grocery store, you want to check if you're buying something previously frozen or fresh. If it's previously frozen, I would go for the freezer section of that type of selection. So maybe like a wild caught salmon, you could get a more economical purchase in a pack of prior frozen fillets.
Plus, that gives you a really easy weeknight dinner option,
Yes.
just to thaw that and cook it for like 10 minutes, like we'll show you guys in the next video.
So let's talk about preparation. My favorite way to prepare fish is pan-seared. Pan-seared allows that add of fat and also that high heat to really lock in the flavor profile. And we're gonna show you that in a recipe for a pan-seared black drum fish next video, so make sure that you check that out.
And then dips and salads can be a great option. I would predominantly do this with more of a canned fish, so going for a canned wild-caught salmon or perhaps a canned skipjack tuna, adding some fat, adding some flavor enhancers in there like our Mediterranean tuna salad.
Grilled is another consideration, and we like to use a plank, like a cedar plank that will soak, and we'll do salmon on this often in the summer as a fantastic option. I like to use a plank when I am grilling because fish is such a delicate protein that I don't like to get all of that falling through my grill. So think of a surface, but the high heat of a grill, especially if you're using like a cedar plank, will impart that nice robust flavor profile as well.
And then baking, kind of similar to if we're pan searing and then popping in the oven, but it's going to help to retain a lot of the moisture of the fish. You could even do something like wrapping a nori sheet around it to lock in more of that moisture, or do it in parchment paper.
Yes, and I love that idea because you can often do like a pesto or add even some veg like spinach to wilt in those packs, and it's a great way to get all that flavor and more nutrient density. And then the final consideration would be doing it as a ceviche, where you're just adding acid. So this would be a raw preparation of fish, and you can check out this recipe on the blog.
So let's just round things out by talking about a couple of our favorite selections of fish now that we've told you how to choose it at the grocery store. What do you buy?
Yes, so because we're in Texas, I generally will pick some Gulf fish options because those are going to be the freshest from catch. And I like anything from a black drum to a red snapper to a grouper, as well as Gulf shrimp. You could also look for prawns, which would be a larger varietal, and based on your region could find the wild caught there.
And then beyond the Gulf sources, we could also look for a wild caught cod, salmon, halibut are some of my favorites. Flounder is fantastic. And we could also do canned fish, so things like sardines, skipjack tuna, and canned salmon. I like the one that is prepared traditionally with the bones because you're going to get a calcium boost from that too.
Absolutely. So because of all of these myriad of benefits, from anti-inflammatory support to a brain boost to cardiovascular and reduction of allergies and more, we highly recommend that you incorporate fish in your diet 2 to 3 times per week. And now that you have 5 different ways to prepare it, we think that this is something that you can absolutely achieve. Put a note below if you found a new way to prepare your fish and these tips were helpful for you. And make sure that you subscribe to the Naturally Nourished YouTube channel where you can stay up to date on all of our tips and tricks, and stay tuned for next week when we release our black drum pan-seared spinach garlic butter dish. Those are going to be flash frozen on the ship often at time of